All right. Hello, everybody. This is Team 3 with the theme Climate Change Planning for Sustainable Communities. Our team will be presenting consisting of Philip Vandel with Residential Compost Pickup Pilot Project, Isabel Alarcon with Mia's Education Sustainability Initiative, Anna Doherty with Fort Hancock Adaptive Reuse Pilot Project, Alex McLaughlin with implementing green spaces and underground cisterns for stormwater management, Diane Zaragoza with constructing a biowall for Union City, and lastly, Rachel Baldwin with complete street design for Stafford Avenue.
For my project, I put together a project plan for a residential compost pickup service. I'm going to talk about how composting can reduce the town's carbon footprint, who was already doing it in New Jersey, what went into my project plan, and what are some of those issues and risks involved. So the U.S. is currently composting about 5% of its food waste. That is not only residential, but commercial as well. There are other places to put it besides composting facilities. We can add them to anaerobic digesters, like in Elizabeth, New Jersey, where they create a slurry to be added to wastewater treatment plants to make that process more efficient. So, composting reduces carbon emissions by 50% compared to landfilling. Um, Composting does release a small amount of carbon dioxide, but that is nothing compared to the amount of methane that we're not adding to the atmosphere when we allow that organic matter to break down in landfills. There are already more than a few composting pickup businesses operating in the northern counties of New Jersey. There is Neighborhood Compost, Community Compost, Java's Compost, Source Compost, and Green Bucket Compost as well. There are about 2.7 million households involved or engaged in community composting in some capacity in the country. I interviewed a number of business leaders in some of these organizations and made a few notable considerations. The top one being that there is a very centralized system of composting in the state. So there are very limited options of where to bring the waste. Out of the aforementioned businesses, most of them bring it to Ag Choice, which is a facility in northwestern New Jersey. Some of them do bring it to a farm above the border in New York State. This is a very labor-intensive business. So most of the models, they provide you a bucket, the household a bucket, and then when it's full, they pick it up and give you a new bucket that's clean. So that washing is actually extremely labor and water intensive. Your transportation will be the highest upfront cost, so maintaining a fleet of vehicles that can handle that much weight is not a cheap ask. Into the project plan, I identified the stakeholders involved, created a work breakdown structure and a plan for those activities, outlined a budget, and identified some risks and issues. So some of those, one of the main issue is that we already have a solution for food waste, and that's throwing in the garbage, right? It's not like we're stockpiling a bunch of food waste in the backyard in our own compost piles. So that can lead to maybe an overestimate of the demand for adding another service to the market. Other issues involve scheduling, and choosing the right resources. So, what kind of bucket do you have? The lid, is it locked? Does it screw? What kind of bag liner? This can lead to potentially unsatisfied clients if it doesn't function optimally. Your biggest issue at the bottom here is that, like I said before, your drop-off location is an hour away from your pickup. It's going to make the operations difficult and add to your costs as well, which you risk kind of not budgeting properly. So there are many issues and risks involved in this sort of business. I hope that we're all composting despite this. And thank you for your time and have a wonderful summer.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, guys. This is going to be Mia's Education Sustainability Initiative. So it's saving Mother Earth by educating one mind at a time. Basically, the vision and mission is going to be to integrate climate change education to empower students to understand environmental challenges and to create a universal, sustainable future, healthier, more resilient, more desirable, and progressive. In my opinion, the key stakeholders will be academia, private and public industry, scientists, government officials, the armed forces, private and public organizations, local school districts, and it will be creating a cohort to achieve successful outcomes in this arena. The key pillars for this initiative will be environmental and sustainable education, financial literacy, horticulture education, sustainability research and development technologies by utilizing AI. The location would be PS 25. Nicholas Copernicus is a Jersey City Heights Community Public School. It will focus on implementing climate change and sustainable curriculum programming from grade levels 1 through 8, ranging from ages 6 to 13, and it will be implemented until the 8th grade graduation. Pillar 1, environmental and sustainable education. It will emphasize an interdependence in environmental, social, and economic systems. It will educate on all aspects of environmental integrity, economic viability. Empower students to understand environmental challenges and become global citizens. It will be an integration that will equip students with knowledge, education to provide them with skill sets that they need for their future. It will provide framework for them to live through sustainability. Responsible actions for environmental integrity will be economic viability and just society. And then regarding pillar 2, it will be financial literacy, which will consist of budgeting, green economy investing, staying debt-free, savings, income and expenses, borrowing money, and when not to borrow money, paying bills on time, interest rates, loans, and managing personal finances. Pillar 3, horticulture education. It's going to foster love for gardening, environmental appreciation, critical thinking, and creativity. Students learn where food comes from, which is essential for us to learn as well as adults. How to grow seeds, how to plant gardens, how to harvest and have a great tasting of their seeds that will someday be fruitable. Landscaping design, and this is a pathway to teach young learners how to plant trees, flowers, seeds, and fruits. And then pillar 4 would be sustainable research and development in the AI conjunction technology realm. So teaching students how to use AI to propel sustainable living standards at a faster rate. AI helps us speed up the process of being able to implement data designs and metrics, aids in the gap in the agriculture and transportation and in many other industries. It will provide us with renewable energy and urban green infrastructures that will provide us with metrics and data that will be useful. And AI is a very positive tool to accelerate climate change action. And the key beneficial areas of utilizing sustainability research and development with AI would be deforestation, climate risk prediction in Africa and all across the globe, energy efficient buildings, carbon price forecasting, and behavioral changes. And before I wrap up, I just want to be able to read a letter that a student named Alexa wrote to her family. Dear Mom, Dad, Ethan, and Dylan, I'm writing to you about something we're learning in school. It is called sustainability. And it means when people get what they want without trashing the world. So animals and other people can get what they want and need. Thank you so much for your time.
Hi, I'm Anna Doherty, and I'll be talking about the adaptive reuse of historic Fort Hancock. Just for some quick background information, Fort Hancock is located in Monmouth County, New Jersey, within Gateway National Recreation Area Sandy Hook Unit. So it's owned by the National Park Service. It was a U.S. Army fort from the 1890s until the 1970s, and parts of the fort are currently in use by the park, but the majority is vacant. The NPS currently doesn't have the funding needed to repair all the buildings in the park, so there's a program in place which allows members of the public to lease buildings in the park if they can afford to renovate the building. Adaptive reuse refers to repurposing old buildings for new uses. This is a sustainable practice because it conserves materials and energy and reduces waste rather than demolishing and building something new. Adaptive reuse preserves the embodied carbon of the building materials by reusing them. Embodied carbon refers to the greenhouse gas emissions associated with the building materials. Embodied carbon contributes significantly to a building's overall carbon footprint, though the percentage varies greatly depending on the operational efficiency. My proposed project is to convert one of the fort's lieutenant's quarters into apartments. This would preserve the historic character of the building, also conserving energy and resources by saving the embodied carbon of the existing structure. The apartments would provide higher density housing on property in Monmouth County, where housing is currently in very high demand. As the building requires renovation, this provides an opportunity for energy efficient retrofitting, which will reduce the building's operational energy emissions. If the pilot project is successful, there are 11 identical lieutenant's quarters at Fort Hancock, so the project will be easily replicated. The building that I'm planning to reuse is a former lieutenant's quarters. It is a 4,500 square foot, 3-story brick building that has been vacant since the 90s. This is part of the original plans for the building, which I used to estimate the amount of each building material. Each building material has an associated average embodied carbon, which I obtained from the Inventory of Carbon and Energy database. I then multiply that by the amount of each material to find that the total embodied carbon savings would be about 79,000 kilograms, or about 87 tons. Additionally, I would add some energy efficient retrofits to save on operational energy. 43 solar panels would provide 100% of the estimated annual electricity usage, and there's plenty of roof area to install those. Air sealing and insulation could cut energy usage by up to 50%. Energy Star windows can save 7 to 15%, and geothermal energy could reduce heating and cooling energy consumption by 44 to 75%. And those are my references.
All right, hi, my name is Alex McLaughlin. My project is on implementing green spaces and underground cisterns for stormwater management. So, best way to start this off is just explaining what green spaces are. So a green space is a section of an urbanized area that has naturally occurring vegetation and soil. Really, it can just be as simple as any area with trees and nature, just kind of a natural area as opposed to a more urban area instead of concrete. They can be as big and as complex as something like Central Park, or just a small little dog park, or a small strip of space next to the road. Really, it can range from anything. Something like a rooftop garden would also be considered a green space. In this case, it wouldn't be as helpful because it doesn't really help us in managing stormwater. They have many different benefits like mental health, improved air quality, better stormwater management. Better stormwater management is probably the most important, especially for this project. So the stormwater is used by the plants. It gets absorbed into the soil. If it was just concrete, it would wash away. And another point is that if there's a building or something there, there's a lot more damage and cost involved. So if a park floods, not a huge deal. If a building floods, much bigger deal. It's pretty tricky to integrate into urban environments because a lot of the land is already used. Whereas, if you're building a new city, it's easier to integrate them. You can go ahead to the next slide. So, an underground cistern stores excess water from large storms. It can store it from just more than one storm. So if there's multiple storms, it can keep building on top of each other. That's what it's designed for. Cities are generally unequipped for larger storms that are becoming much more frequent. They're becoming bigger and larger. So they may be able to withstand one storm, but if there's more than one, they may struggle. The water stored in these cisterns can have a multitude of uses. It can be repurposed for drinking water, or it can be released back into the ecosystem. It can be used for agriculture, really anything that water might be used for. In this case, green spaces and cisterns will work together. The cistern will be placed directly under the green space so that the soil and vegetation will allow the water to percolate through the ground and reach the cistern. Normally, ground surfaces in an urban area are impenetrable, and rainwater can't collect. Rainwater can't collect underground, so it'll collect on top, and that's how flooding happens. Ideally, these green spaces are placed at optimal intervals for most effective draining. This depends heavily on the city, how built up it is, if you're building a new city. With this system, with the cistern under the green space, rainwater will collect and be repurposed if needed. Previously, the flooding would cause damage. So now, instead of causing damage, it can create a benefit for the community. And that's all I have. Awesome. Diane is next. Go ahead, Diane.
Hello, so the topic for my pilot project is constructing a biowall for Union City. So for the pilot project itself, on the next slide, the main goal is to attach a biowall system to Union City High School, pictured down below UCHS, in order to reduce urban heat island or UHI effects. So the reason why UHI effects are so prevalent in urban spaces is because of the built environment. We have sidewalks, dark colored roads, buildings, etc., that contribute to this built environment, which end up absorbing long and short wave radiation, which increases the surrounding surface temperatures, thus increasing heat in the area. So UHIs, they also increase the energy consumption as well as the air pollutants in the urban space, while also contributing to health issues that many residents have to deal with. For this site location, Union City, it is in Hudson County. It's predominantly a Hispanic municipality, and it also lacks prominent green spaces. So attaching this biowall system to a very prominent fixture in the Union City community, UCHS. It is in the middle of the city. It's right by this busy road. So it's very prevalent in the lives of Union City residents. And then to connect that for the UCHS building itself, as the biwall will be attached to it, it can allow even students and faculty members an opportunity to train with an expert in order to help them learn how to maintain the biowall, as well as having other Union City residents being able to volunteer. This will just add to this community. It would just increase the social benefits for this pilot project. Next slide, please. So what exactly is a biowall? It consists of different panels, vegetation, growing medium. Pictured in figure 1 on the left-hand side, it's a plastic-based biowall, which is what the pilot project will utilize, because many life cycle assessment studies, or LCAs, have noted the fact that out of the two most prominent biowalls, felt base and plastic base have less environmental burdens than felt base, which is why I decided to go ahead with the plastic-based biowalls, which contain different layers. The plastic is used for the planter boxes, which the vegetation, in this case, it's going to be native plants from Hudson County, will be placed in. The lifespan of the biowall is approximately 50 years. And in the next slide, I'll be discussing the cost and benefits of the biowall itself. So for the cost, it's estimated from a similar project, it's a little bit under $3,000. There are concerns of the irrigation consumption because it can be around 146 to, on the top end, 2,920 liters per meter square per year. Even though the environmental burdens are less than that of felt-based biowalls, Plastic living walls still have negative environmental impacts, in some cases due to the plastic used for the planter boxes, in other cases the aluminum that's used for the anchorage or the hooking system in order to attach to the vertical side of the building. However, there are benefits such as energy savings of about 6.3%. It can even lower the UHI effects by 10 degrees Celsius, increase the air quality and increase biodiversity, as well as connecting Union City residents to the natural Hudson County environment. As a result of urbanization, many people have lost that relationship with the urban environment. So having this biowall that's going to include native vegetation will help reestablish that connection. And my next slide is my references.
Hello. Let me just stop everything here. My name is Rachel Baldwin, and my pilot project is the complete street design for Stafford Avenue, located in Stafford Township. So what is a complete street? It first supports mobility for all users, including pedestrians, cyclists, and vehicular traffic. It improves the public fitness by getting people out to walk, to run. Supports economic vitality by revitalizing storefronts and getting pedestrians out in front of them. And then it also is designed for the environment by implementing a lot of green infrastructure. You can help with stormwater mitigation, carbon sequestration, and heat island effects. So Stafford Township is located in Ocean County. It is the gateway to LBI. It is approximately 30,000 residents, with 58% being between the ages of 18 to 65 years old. The perfect age group for complete streets. Geography consists of forest, wetlands, and dense urban communities where my pilot project takes place. And then just to give an overview, the township does have travel plans, but they're all very pocketed, and none of them really focus on complete streets. So Stafford Avenue is located in this area. The blue dashed line is predominantly owned by the county because it is within a wildlife management area. So my pilot project focuses in that red box to the left. And it is completely urbanized. It is mostly consisting of commercial and single-family dwellings. Here is a first-person view of Stafford Avenue. Take note of where we are in the lower left-hand corner. As you can see, there is a sidewalk to the left. However, there are very narrow shoulders, no bike lanes, and there lacks a sidewalk to the right. So here is that same scene in profile view. There's the sidewalk to the left, the narrow shoulders, no bike lanes, and here's the proposals. So you have a widened sidewalk on the left, installation of bike lanes, and I even added a tree for good measure. Here's further down the street. Again, take note of where we are on the lower left. Poor man is walking on the shoulder, a perfect example. There are no trees in this area, so it looks very hot. The sidewalks are non-continuous. There's faded marking for a diagonal parking location on the shoulder. And then this extra space of shoulder is very wide with no beneficial purpose. Oh, so here's the current profile view with a, one snippet of that sidewalk, the diagonal parking, and then the very wide shoulder on the right. And then here's the proposal. We continue that wide sidewalk, move the diagonal parking to parallel parking, continue the bike lanes, and then even add a sidewalk on the right. And then here's the last little snippet of the pilot project area. A lot of the key elements here, there's no sidewalk on the left, it's a wide shoulder, and even further down, once it turns into the Ocean County's road, there's actually no shoulder on the left. So a lot of the same elements. Again, here's a side profile of that with the sidewalk on the right, very wide shoulders. And proposal is the same as before. It's just continuation of that wide sidewalk, parallel parking, and then the bike lanes. Here's an aerial view of what is currently in place. It's very plain. It's predominantly made for vehicular traffic. Pedestrians obviously need to navigate several different elements to be able to get from one side of the street to the other, and just generally unfriendly. And here's the proposal. You make dedicated bike lanes. There is the parallel parking for the businesses that are along this street. You have a continuous sidewalk and crosswalks that make crossing the street safer for pedestrians. However, there's a lot of costs to consider. You've got the sidewalks, the bicycle lanes, speed bumps if you implement those, lighting. A similar project within the township cost about $1,372,000, which brings me to my next slide, future steps. So the first step is to go out and physically measure everything. It was done with Google Earth, which is not very accurate. We need to go out, solicit accurate quotes from probably the township engineer. Go and conduct surveys to who will actually benefit from this project, which will help with grant applications, and then conduct outreach to get the general public's ideas and feel about this certain project. Here are my resources, and thank you so much. That is the conclusion of our presentation. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of the emails on the screen.